This will be fun today, and I'll tell you why. I've got Mike Cappuccio on with us. So, Mike had a business in the Northeast. I'm gonna let him give his background about the business here in a few moments. Another successful transaction here for SF&P Advisors. Still maintain a great relationship with Mike. We got some golf coming up here for us. I think beginning of April we got on the schedule. He's down in South Florida now. Well, West Coast of Florida, half of the year, and he's still involved. What I mean by that is he's still giving back to the HVAC community post transaction, which I think is pretty neat. A lot of people sometimes they get their deal done, they stay on post transaction, second bite happens, and then they kind of sail off into the sunset. But you're nonstop, which is fantastic. I love it, and I'm sure your wife's not thrilled about it. But you just told me you got
She has her moments.
four different trips coming up here in the next 3 days.
Yeah.
So why don't you give your background, and it'll dovetail nicely into your story. So I'll hand you the mic.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me on. First off, again, I was in the HVAC industry for, oh God, I'm still in the HVAC industry. I guess I could still say so. Pretty much 40, going on 44 years now, which is a long, long time. I mean, starting at 20 years old. Background was I worked for someone for the first 10 years of my career. Worked my way up in that company from a service technician to running the operation from the service side for that gentleman, and learned a lot from him. Moved on, started my own company in 1989. Started out pretty much doing a lot of service work, commercial service work. Bought a residential company about 10 years into it. Noticed the how would I say it? I really noticed the need for heat pumps in the Northeast where I was living at the time. I still live there a little bit in the summertime, and saw a niche in my company and what I could do with it, and just kind of ran from there and created some plans, created some programs, and started out first year in the residential business. Didn't really do too well, and really started to look at that. Hired a business coach. Worked with her for 15 years and really just took it to a whole nother level. And then I did an exit strategy from there. So, I mean, it was, I'm going to tell you this. So you think about selling your business probably 10 times before you'll actually do it. You'll have some good days and some bad days, and you'll say, you know what, one bad day, I'm just getting out. But it's not that easy. I always tell people every time I do a seminar and training, I mean, like you said, I still give back. I do a lot of manufacturer and distributor training from the sales and marketing sides and installation sides. And I always tell people it's much easier to start a business than it is to get out of business.
Yeah, it's a process, and we're happy to obviously when we were talking with you, it was early enough to be able to figure some things out for you. But I tell everybody the same thing. The first time you're even thinking about selling it, right? We're doing an exit. You should give me a call. I'd rather see everything early, than late. We get a lot of folks that call us to your point, that wake up that day and they're like, I am done. Time to finally get in touch with Brian. And they get in touch with me. We start putting through numbers and we're like, we need a little time for some things to work themselves out,
Yes.
have the best
Yep.
exit. So yeah, if you want to get your deal done tomorrow, you should have called me about a year and a half ago.
Probably even longer.
I'm just
Probably
kidding.
even longer. But at least 12 to 18 months.
Sure. We just want to have some time. That's where the best deals happen when they're not rushed.
Mhm.
It sounds cliche, but when's the best time to buy a car, right? When you don't need one. You don't go to get a new car. Your lease is ending on a Saturday or Sunday. You got to return the
No.
car on Monday. And you're like, all right, here I am the weekend before trying to figure out what I'm going to do for a car. You start figuring those things out plenty of time ahead so that you don't have to get your back up against the wall. And when it
Yeah.
comes to a business, right, when you're talking about a lot of zeros in a sophisticated
Yes.
transaction,
Mhm.
more time is usually better than less. I agree with you.
Yeah, and you got to really understand when is the best time, and the best time is when it's doing the best, not
Sure.
doing the worst. And
Right.
to make things the best, you got. I tell people there's a lot of work to do if you want to sell your business. It's not easy. It is not an easy thing. There's a lot of things that go into selling a business. There's so many questions that are going to come up that you would never even think of, and that's why you have to have people on your side representing you. Like, when you look at this whole transaction and what happens, you need, a good attorney.
Yep.
You need good advisors. You need
Yep.
advisors that are advising you. And that's one thing that we did as a team. I mean, when I when I signed up with you guys, I had a team of people that I was working with,
Yep.
not just one person. If you, God forbid, if you're an owner and you're trying to do this yourself, it is a daunting task, let me tell you, because between the 3 or 4 people that I worked with on your team, and then I had 3 to 4 people on my team, and then you put the buyer into it that has 3 or 4 people on his team or her team, that's 10 people, conversing together with a lot of work. A lot of work goes into selling a company, and it doesn't happen overnight. I tell people that it's so much easier to get in than it is to get out. And a lot of these guys just start one guy in a truck, they're a service tech, and then all of a sudden it goes from, becoming, just a service company to a business and then to a corporation. And now it's like, whoa, what have I done? I've created a monster and I just don't know how to stop this. You can't, how do I stop feeding the monster?
Yep.
you know?
No, I do. To your point, these are sophisticated transactions. Again, you're adding zeros in, you're doing a deal with private equity. There's a lot of information that they
Yeah.
want. And it almost in almost every instance, unfortunately, it can become like a second job. So, obviously we try and keep as much of that off your plate as possible so that you can continue to run your business. But listen, there's hours every week that you're going to be needed, right? Between calls
God.
and meetings and getting information together. Saying you're going to market doesn't mean the business is sold. Saying you're going to market is like literally like, okay, there's a couple steps even before that, right?
Oh God.
And
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of people, and they tell me, hey, Bri, here's where my EBITDA is at. What do you think? And I'm like, all right, well, tell me who figured out your EBITDA for you. Well, da, da, da. I'm like, you're not, you don't, it's more than that. I think I've told this story probably 10 different times. I did a
Yeah,
presentation.
and I learned that real quick on with you. I learned that real quick on with
Right,
you.
right. Because
Anybody can tell you anything that your EBITDA is this. I mean, there's so many ways to determine EBITDA. It's not funny. You know what I mean?
there's a lot that goes into a lot of ad backs, things that can get argued for and argued against. And if you don't know that, you mentally you think because somebody told you here's your EBITDA, that's it. Not even close. There may be things in there that you can't get credit for. There may be things that you're missing that you could get credit for. At the end of the day, there's two levers in this equation: EBITDA times multiple. There's negotiations that happen on both sides. I get a call, hey, where do you think my multiple is? Well, that's a range. I mean, it's a pretty wide range. You're right, it's a wide range. It's also dependent upon the number of buyers that come in that compete for the business, right? That put offers together. How can we leverage these guys back and forth for your best financial outcome? And then ultimately, if the owners, wants to stay for a period of time, there's a business relationship that has to be factored in too. There's that thing called chemistry fit. So who do you think is going to be best to continue forward with, not only for you, but also for your team? Like there's
Oh
just
yeah.
you start to look through this checklist of all these different things you want to make sure is covered and clean, and cleared. And
Oh
you know,
yeah. I can
here,
remember high points and topics. I remember the first time we talked, you're like, Mike, you know what? We have some work to do, and we're going to go back. We got 18 months, maybe even 2 years to really clean and scrub this business. And it's the cleaner your books are, the easier it is. And I tell that to guys. I mean, I meet so many people too, like, like they'll ask me these questions that they're asking you. And I'm like, look, I don't know the answers to these questions.
right.
But I am going to tell you one thing. Make sure your business is clean. Clean up as much of the books, clean up as much of the stuff as you can. And that takes time. Run a business like a business. Don't
Sure.
run a business like it's just cash coming in and out of your pocket. You know what I mean? Don't run your business like it's a true business, like it's a big corporation, even though it's small, but run it big. And then I remember you telling me this too. You said, the day we went to market and you called me up and you said, Mike, we have 80 NDAs signed right now and you're going to have to do some interviews. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, really? I said, we have 80 people interested in a business. And now I start doing these interviews. And it's exactly what you said is the chemistry and who's going to fit with you. And you got to find that, because I can remember talking to people and I knew 5 minutes into the phone call, this is not a good fit for me. This is not the company that I want to sell my company to, and vice versa. I think that there might have been people that I talked to in the first 5 minutes, and they said, this isn't the company we want to buy, because every buyer has their own little persona of kind of the way that they picture you coming in, and my buyer was a good fit for me. They really were. And I mean, I still talk to the people there. I enjoy the people, true gentlemen with no doubt. I mean, and it was a good fit for me. I could have stayed on as long as I wanted to. I mean, I stayed on a year and a half, and there was a plan for me to transition out, and that was all good. There's no animosity between the buyer and me, and none of that. There were real, true gentlemen people, and when I had the conversation with the one person that I did, God rest his soul today. I mean, he's passed since, and great guy, and it was just, I feel the chemistry. Brian's found me the right people. And that's key. You need someone to bring the right people to the table, and it's really finding that chemistry. Who are these people? Because so many of them are just sharks. The sharks. Some of them are just, you don't want to go work for them.
They don't think you know what you need to know about your business. I talk about this all the time. Like, if you don't run a competitive bidding process where you get multiple offers in, you really don't know the true value of the business. You want to see how everybody's seeing it, and obviously you want to see how we're seeing it too.
Yeah.
Man, countless calls. I got this offer. What do you think? Well, let me see your numbers. Let's have a look. I'm having these conversations multiple times a week now, and I'm like, this is really not a good deal. Like, have you done any background on who or what this buyer is about? Because even from the buyer's perspective, and you talk with a lot of people, on one end of the spectrum, you've got pure private equity guys. They've got money, they want to buy up EBITDA, and they just want to go get deals done. They want to bring the EBITDA together and go flip it to the next person, right? On the other end, you've got almost what would be considered to be a strategic partner. And these people understand your business almost to the level that you do. And then you have everything in between.
Some better, some better.
Yes. Yes. So you got to get a really good understanding of, what's going to be the best fit for me. And sometimes, and we found this, a number of times, the highest offer isn't always the best deal.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Because sometimes you can get the highest offer, but not get all your money up front either.
Oh, there's all kinds of, right. There's all kinds of.
I listen to some of these guys talk to me, and I'm like, okay, well, we want you to stay on for 5 years, and we'll give you a payment over the period of 5 years. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what if something goes wrong in that period in 5 years? Like, well, how is it? How and what is that even going to look like? And it was like, oh, wait a minute. You're looking right out of the gate. This is not a good fit for me. This is, because
by the way, you and I understand that, and that's why we're having this conversation. I can't tell you how many people don't understand that, and they're getting paid out on their business over X number of years that they are still running. So they're running to pay themselves back. Listen, if you're going to do that, you might as well get a loan from the bank.
Exactly.
Go get a loan from the bank and pay yourself back and get a write-off for the business, right? On interest.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, either that or just have an auction, sell everything, sell all the assets, sell it to someone and just walk out the door. You know what I mean? But you got to find the right buyer and the right deal for you. And I'm going to tell you, it takes time. It takes time. And the other thing it takes too is a lot of trust.
Yeah.
You have to have trust in the people that are working around you. You have to have trust in the buyer, obviously.
Yep.
You got to do your research on your buyer. Know who it is. You got to do, I did my research on your group way prior to me even calling you, and talking to people and saying, hey, this group really helped me do what I needed to do. And let me show you why. I mean, I can, again, looking back on the deal and how things went and how it went down, it was like, okay, it was like I looked at it, it was almost like selling a house. And I had an open house, but I had a flyer. I had, and it was like, okay, you need this document. Go to the portal, go to document A693, and there's the document. We had done our due diligence prior to selling the company, where a lot of guys are doing their due diligence while they're selling their company.
All the time.
And if you want your deal to go quickly and move fast, because I was in a fast deal environment, and I'm not going to get into the logistics of it, but it was a very fast logistical deal. And we needed documents like this. And oh God, it was just,
Once diligent, right? Once diligent.
you do your due. There's one thing you're going to do. You're going to do your due diligence with you before you sell it. And the buyers like that because the due diligence is already done. And you know what? The buyers are willing to pay a little more money for that because it's a clean deal. Whereas, some of these big private equity groups don't want to deal with a small buyer because they don't know, they don't have any of their act together coming to the table to sell it because they have no advisor. It's like selling your house without a real estate broker. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, I do. I want to add on to that is,
Who knows how to sell a house? I don't know how to sell a house.
the buyer, the seller thinks, well, I kind of have these numbers determined out. They've never gone through a private equity diligence before. So what happens is they get that random phone call that says, hey, I got somebody who wants to buy your business. They're willing to pay top of the market multiple. They get on a call. The seller says, well, I got X as my EBITDA. We're just going to assume that's what it is. An offer is put together based upon that. Then diligence happens, and that number gets ripped apart and all over the place. The problem is the diligence sometimes runs 4, 5, 6 months. And by
Oh,
that point in time, point in time, the seller is exhausted. I just want to get a deal done. You do the work up front, so then you can start to predetermine when you want to go to market based upon where your numbers are going, right? Plus,
exactly.
you
That's
want
what
to
I did.
you want
Get the
to
business to shine. That's exactly what I did. Get your number up as high as you can. Get that business cleaned up, scrubbed.
yeah,
Stop running all kinds of crazy numbers through your business. Run your business like a business, and you will get top dollar for your business because the cleaner the business, the easier the transaction. It's exactly what you said. And I had been in that boat prior to this. I looked at selling my business 10 times before selling it. Honestly, through a period of probably 15 years, my business was always for sale. And I had a kind of like a small guy helping me do it. And, you'd go and have meetings. He couldn't even bring the right people to the table. And, the meetings just became exhausting and just, people kicking the tires and not looking to buy things, thinking about buying it, but not buying it. And you're thinking to yourself, I'm never going to sell this thing. I'm never going to get rid of this. This is just going to be. I was getting to the point where, at one point, I was thinking to myself, probably not so much after I really started growing it, but I'm going to probably say 10 years prior to that. You know what? Just have an auction. Just close the door, sell all the trucks, get all my money back, sell my customer list to someone. And you know what? You work your butt off for 20 odd years at that point in time. And what do you got at the end of it? You got nothing. And I say that to guys in training all the time. Like I meet owners all the time. I say, why did you start a business? And you know why most of them got started? By default. They had a bad boss. They
yep,
didn't like their boss. They
yep.
started a company. And then all of a sudden now they've got a business. And now they have a corporation. They had a company when they started. Then all of a sudden it starts evolving. And now you're going, well, what am I going to do with this now? Now I got 40, 50 people working for me 20 years later. Whoa, okay. Now what do I do? You know what I
You
mean?
got something. You got
And now
something.
I'm 60 years old and you start thinking about it, but and I truly, I wanted to get out of the day to day doing what I was doing, but I still wanted to work. And, that's another thing too. You got to think of, like you said, the post transaction part of it is what do I want to do afterwards? Do I want to work? Do I not want to work? Do I want to give back? Do I want to be involved? Like I have friends that have just walked away.
Sure.
And, I wasn't really ready to do that. And I'm still not ready to do that. I truly enjoy what I do every day. I really do. I enjoy helping guys be successful, try to teach them some of the things that I learned. I want everybody to reap the same, life that I have. I have a great life, and I'm blessed. I really am. And if I can help someone get to where I am today, all the power be it. And anyone that knows me will tell you that. I mean, I'm not a flashy guy. I don't live beyond my means. I like to help people. It's probably my worst trait is helping everybody. My wife says, you got to stop sometimes, but I just enjoy helping people. And probably, like I said, it's one of my worst traits, but it's my best trait. and I truly enjoy it. I love what I do when I meet contractors. I love, I work on the ACCA New England and ACCA and help with government affairs and things, because this trade can turn real quick, and there's a lot that goes on in it that, what, with 40 years experience, you've seen a lot, you've learned a lot, and that's what kind of helps this younger generation that's coming in. The older guys that have seen it all. I'm not saying we know the best, but we
Right.
definitely have learned by our mistakes. And I'll tell you, everything that I teach in my classes when I go out and I do training is, what? Had a problem with it. I lost money doing it, and I created a process to fix it. And here's what you got to do. And it's the same thing with all of this whole entire trade, with what everything that goes on every day. There's always a problem, and you just got to fix it. And it's easy. It's simple. Most of the stuff is common sense. And I even tell guys in the contracting world, it's not as hard as you think it is. There's two things you got to do: answer the phone and show up. Answer the phone and show up, and you'll make money. In the HVAC industry, in the trades, if you answer the phone, show up, and have a fair and honest price, and you're an honest person, you can make a lot of money. And you can turn this thing around and sell it for a lot of money when you're done. Just answer the phone and show up. It's not that difficult.
You
I
get
can't
that?
tell you how many times I make phone calls down here in Florida to have work done. I don't even have people call me back. I tell these guys when I go teach and I do marketing and stuff, you have all these online forums and all this other stuff. What good is that if you don't call people back? What good is even spending money on marketing and a website? You don't even call people back. I built my business on honesty and reputation. I really did. And I know that's how you guys have built your business too, just as well. I hear it all the time.
One of the yeah, and I agree with you. One of the worst things that we hear is, and again, like you, I've been in the space as long as you have, but you know, I don't know, I'm in 9 years, I think now, something like that. You know a lot of people, and you
Yeah.
meet people, and hell yeah, I sold my business. I'm like, well, what are you doing at this event then? Well, I figure that I got to probably, when a non-compete drops off, I got to go do it again. I got to build one more time to really maximize out where I needed to be. I'm like, well, why didn't you do that the first time? Well, that sounded like a good deal at that point in time, and I did a deal. I'm like, you get one chance, like one
One
chance to
shot.
do this right. Like, why would you play any games whatsoever in trying to get this done? You miss one thing, it could be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in enterprise value that you could have received at closing. What's funny is I remember having this conversation with a client, and we got on a call, and his wife was on as well, and we were talking about these offers that were there. They were contemplating becoming our client. And I said, I think this number is off by about 2 million bucks in what you're getting offered. And they're like, well, I mean, but we know them. I said, okay, so they're friends. They're like, yeah. I said, is the friendship worth, a little over $2 million? And the wife started to laugh. And she understood what I was saying. If that friend is as good as they say they are, then they're going to want you to get the best offers for your business, and then come show them what the best offers for your business are. And if they're that good of a friend, they should write the check for the difference and say, match everybody's offer and say, great, let's go do business together. Like, they're not. This is business. This is private equity, right? So you got to
Yeah.
maximize what your result is going to wind up being. You get one good chance to go ahead and do this. I'm not talking about second bite of the apple or anything along those lines. I'm
No.
the first check that you're going to get. Let's maximize out where that's going to be. And too many people getting caught up in, oh, they called me and they like my business. You guys are, if I could say one thing, I'll get off my soapbox. The people that are listening to this, you are successful business owners. You don't get enamored by a shiny object. You're not enamored by being the prettiest girl at the dance anymore, right? We've been through this already. This is business. You know, it's exciting. Hey, I got a lot of attention. I got a business. Everybody wants to talk to me about selling it. So,
Yeah.
oh my God, get on a phone and talk to a professional so you don't get, raked in this situation. Too many people get raked. I hear about it all the time. That's why I shaved my
I
head.
hear about
I was
I hear
done.
about it all the time too. And a lot
Right.
of guys don't know what the second bite of the apple actually is. If you want to stay in and work, if you truly want to stay in and work and reinvest money back into those private equity firms, you can do very, very well. I know people who have redone it, and I'm going to tell you, I wished I had probably done it, but I didn't. But hey, that's hearsay.
But your goals were different at that point in
My
time, right?
goals were different at that point in time, exactly. But the younger people that are selling their businesses that still, might have 10, 20 years left in them, I know guys that have sold their business 2 and 3 times right now and are
Yep.
very wealthy people now because of what's happened in working. And I'm going to tell you, these private equity groups, they got money and they buy that business to grow that business. And if your goal is to truly grow your business, you're going to get to a point like, look, I was at a point where I was doing probably, I don't know, maybe 15, $16 million when I sold my company, maybe 17. I'm not even sure of the exact number, but I was capped out. You need lines of credit, you need cash, you need money. You know what?
Resources.
And
Need
you're going to
resources.
put up all your private stuff to do that. You're the guy signing the note all the time. Okay, my house is going up, my cars are going up, my 401k is going up. I got to back all this cash, to grow my business. Look, you can go grow your business with these guys and they'll give you the money to do it. They got the money and the funds to do it. They want to do it. So you can go grow a business with someone else's money and then it turns over again and you can make more money again. Like you said, I wasn't in that point in time of my life. I really didn't need that. I didn't have, you know, 3 to 5 years in me. I really didn't at that point. Could I have maybe done it? Possibly, but I had other outlooks. I wanted to go do, I had another company with my training company and stuff that I wanted to go build. And, I invested that way. I've invested in a few other things that have been pretty successful over the last couple of years, but it's allowed me to do what I want. I want to go fishing today, I'll go fishing today. I want to go play golf today, I'll go play golf today. Granted, I got to work today. I got to get on a plane and go to Kentucky and St. Louis, but it is what it is. I'll be back Friday. I'm okay with that, but I don't work in the summertime at all. I don't want to work when it's really nice at home in Boston. I when it's crappy out in the winter.
Getting that transaction done gives you, and I'm generalizing when I say you, a certain level of freedom to truly be
Oh,
able
absolutely.
to
The
do.
handcuffs come off, Brian. The handcuffs come off.
The personal guarantees are out of play. The bullseye's off your back. I talk to a lot of owners past post transaction. Are like, you know what the best thing is? I shut my phone off at 4:30. I leave the office at 3. I'm done at 5. Whatever their schedule is. And a lot of people ask, like, oh, I mean, I do a deal with private equity. I got to work that much harder. No, we're going to spell out what your role and responsibility is going to wind up being. If you're working part-time, 20, 25 hours a week or whatever, we're going to make sure that what you're putting in now is what you're going to put in later, or we'll make some, or maybe it's less, or maybe you want to do more. Like you're with a partner. The partner wants to help you grow. You've been successful in
Absolutely.
your business to a certain size.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to bring the partner in because you need the resources and the assets to be able to go
You need the
from
cash.
what
If you want to grow that business, you need the cash.
it's
And I can remember them saying to me on one of the interviews, what do you want to do, Mike? You got a lot of experience. Do you want to work for 2 years, 5 years, 2 months, 2 days? We'll let you do whatever you want to do. We're okay with that. And, they let me do whatever I wanted to do, and it was great, so I don't have any regrets at what I did with that. None at all. Like I said, I mean, I still talk to the guys there. And I mean, I was talking to, one of the COOs the other day, and he's like, Mike, he goes, what do you like doing? I said, I love doing training and teaching people. And I know what he was doing. He was fishing, and you know what? Maybe it'll work out. I don't know. Maybe I don't know, but I just enjoy what I do. And when the handcuffs come off too, you're also not handcuffed to your employees at that point.
correct,
You
which is the
you take off the father hat. You take off the father figure. And now, probably one of my hardest things to deal with was I was now one of them. I was an employee just like the rest of the people in the building. And that took a few months to get used to that for me. But I still had the persona of wanting to try to help everybody and do everything. And that's where I was kind of saying, it's probably best for me not to be here anymore at that point in time, because the personal relationships sometimes weren't so good after that a little bit, because now you have to, there are some things, we've heard all the good, I'll give you a little bit of the bad maybe of it, is that you now have to kind of go by other people's rules and regulations, which those companies have. And you're going to have to play by those rules. It's not your business anymore. So if I could say to anybody, just, that's one of the things you're going to have to accept if you're going to stay on. You're going to have to play by people's rules and you have to be willing to listen. You're not the boss anymore. They paid you millions of dollars for that company. It's not yours anymore.
Yep.
And you got to learn that the house was white and now it got painted purple. And that's okay. As long as you like purple for a color, that's great. You know what I mean? But it's not a white house anymore. I have to tell this to my wife all the time, Brian. The house was white, now it's purple. We don't own it anymore. It's just like a house that you sold. You can drive by it, you can look at it. All the great memories sat in that house that you were brought up in. And you had a lot of great times in there and you had a lot of bad times in there. But it's not our house anymore. It's their house. They bought it. If they want to remodel it, let them remodel it. It's theirs. It's not ours. It's very hard. I keep saying this. I keep saying it. It's very easy to get in. It's harder to get out. More emotionally harder to get out than anything.
It's a process.
It is.
I couldn't agree more.
And you got so much tied to it. You got 30, 40 years tied to this business. And you know what? You don't run the business runs you. Now all of a sudden you're running a business. The whole wheel got shifted around. And some people can't do that, I know guys that got involved in the group that we got in and they were like, I'm going to work there for 2 and 3 years. And then all of a sudden I see like a month later, they're gone. Like, oh, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I'm like, you got to disconnect yourself emotionally, buddy. Otherwise it's going to be hard for you,
It is. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. When PE comes in, they got a number of holdings. They got to make sure that these things are standardized,
Yes.
which is typically understood. And it's a double-edged sword, right? You don't have to deal with the headaches and the BS anymore, right? You have a
Yep.
partner. That's what they're there for. And at the same time, you, again, because of the type of owner that you were, you still feel emotionally tied in with the people and kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't buy a business. They don't buy a business to lose money.
no.
They
They're
buy
not.
a business to make money. So be prepared to keep driving that business the way you've been driving it. Because if you were showing 10% growth every year or 15% growth every year, you better be able to continue to keep doing that. And that's when you got to stay focused and take the emotional ties out of it and keep moving forward.
And they give you the resources and
Oh,
the back office to be able to help you get to whatever predetermined levels you all want to get to together. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
First thing I'll never forget too, they come in, they tell you, whoa, here's your marketing budget. They're like, well, we know what it takes to make money. We need to spend money on marketing. And my marketing budget doubled in one day. I was like, whoa, okay, this is good.
Yeah.
So just some things that'll happen.
I'm totally in agreement with you there. You were absolutely excellent client. We appreciated getting such a great transaction done for you. If it's okay, I want to add your phone number in on the bottom of this email. For anybody that has any questions, send
Sure.
me a text. He'll be more than happy to talk you through the
Yeah.
pros and the cons of getting a deal done. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks here out on the golf course.
Sounds good, kiddo.